We're going to be talking about the thermographic system today, and what we're going to cover. Let's just run down the list real quick of the things that we're going to cover. First, I'm going to spend just a couple minutes and tell you about CoStar, who we are, for those of you that are new to CoStar. Then we're going to look at the product line overview. You'd be happy to know there's not a lot of components to this product line. We're going to look at those. We're going to talk about the features of those. Then we're going to talk about the thermographic technology, the dual thermographic. What is it and why is it important to you, and why does it make this camera different than what's out there on the market? We're going to just hit this one head on about the medical device question. We're going to answer that. We're going to talk about that just for a second. We're also going to look at optimal system layouts, because the success that you will have deploying a system like this really is based on how well the system is laid out on the front end. So it is very important. We're going to cover those critical measurements. I'm going to call it a triangle of success in order to deploy these cameras. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to look at 3 of the most popular operational designs that are deployed out there. So we're going to look at those in detail. And then we're going to jump in and we're going to do a test drive. We're going to actually see the VMS, or the CMS in this case. We're going to look at some temperature screening, some temperature searches. This CMS will do a lot of different things, but we're going to focus primarily on the temperature screenings and databases and how those work. So we're going to take a top level overview, and then we're going to welcome you to request more information and for a deeper dive. We do have this here in our local headquarters in Coppell, where we'll be able to do a deeper dive customized to what you're actually looking for. So at the end of the presentation, I will put up a slide that will show you who your contact person is for the CoStar team. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in here and let's spend a quick second talking about CoStar Technologies. That is the parent company of CoStar Video Systems, which is the group that I'm a part of. We are the total systems provider of video recording cameras. The StarNet video VMS is our claim to fame. We've been in this business a really long time. I've been a member of this team for 14 years. Most everybody on my team has been here almost that long as well. So we've got a rich history in that segment. We also have CohuHD, which is our sister company out of San Diego. They've been in this business for well over 60 years, and there's a very good chance if you've driven on a highway or a toll road in a major metropolitan area, a camera such as this has filmed you. They have a high concentration of video in the critical infrastructure as well as the ITS space. And then third, we have Arecont Vision. Arecont Vision is a sister company of ours also in the Southern California area. Most of you are probably familiar with the name. They've been around a long time. They've really pioneered the multi-head technology, the 4-headed cameras, the 180 cameras, so they have a rich history in this as well. So all of these companies are part of the CoStar umbrella, as well as IVS Imaging, not as well known in this space, but an industrial imaging company that does machine vision, medical vision, any kind of a specialized camera for teleconferencing, things of that nature. They specialize in that. They're a master distributor for some of the largest video companies in the world. So that's who we are. We are headquartered right here in Coppell, Texas, right here in just outside of Dallas, very close to the DFW airport. So that's all I'm going to talk about on the company side. You can go to CoStarTechnologies.com and learn more about any of these companies. So what we're going to do now is let's look at the hardware. Let's look at what we call the 3210 HD series. The 3210 is the nomenclature we use for the cameras and all the associated accessories. It's very simple products we're going to look at right here. We're going to look at the high level ones. First and foremost is our high resolution camera. This is the 3210-2000, which this one is our high res version, and high res on the thermal side. They both have high resolution cameras, but this will be a high resolution on the thermal. We also have a standard resolution version of this camera. Of course, you imagine it's less money, but less resolution on the thermal side. And then lastly, the main component here is our black body or calibration device, as we call it. This is a 3210-9000. Now keep in mind that this device needs to be coupled with the previous two cameras. When you choose the camera, you will need this calibration device in order to accurately gather temperature screening. So we're going to talk about the features of this here in a second and how this fits into the product. But for all intents and purposes outside of bracketry, this is the key products. These are the things that you will need to deploy a system with a laptop of your choosing, or a PC of your choosing, of course, but these are the items that we would supply. Now, just dissecting this, a quick overview of the 3210. As we talked earlier, the thermal imager. This is the high resolution version. It's a 400 by 300 thermal imager. So the dual headed camera allows for thermal on one side and then the optical on the other side. This is a 1080p optical imager. It does allow me to remote focus and zoom a 2.8 to 12 millimeter lens. So I can frame up an image, smaller, tighter, depending on the space. So this is all done remote focus. This also has a true wide dynamic range. So if you're using it in an entryway or a space that's going to have a lot of backlight, you can manage it with a true WDR. These are outdoor rated, although they are used indoor and outdoors, typically indoors, just so you can control the environment and the temperature and such, but it is IP66 rated. The temperature measurement response time on this model here is less than 30 milliseconds. So it's a very fast processing camera. It will pick up the temperature very quickly. Size-wise, compact, it's 7 by 5 by 8 inch, so it's almost rectangular shape, even though it does have rounded corners, but it's a little bit larger than your traditional, but for a dual-headed camera, it's a very compact size. It does run on local power or a PoE if you want to power it that way, and a thermal accuracy of 0.3 degrees C or 0.5 Fahrenheit. So it's very accurate. It's and its response time is very, very quick. So that's kind of an overview of the camera. It does have a 1/4-20 mounting screw, so you can mount it on lots of different bracketry, pendant, wall mount, however you see fit. All right, moving ahead, let's talk about the calibration tool. Simple device, not a lot of excitement here, but it does work in an operating temperature range of 2 degrees Fahrenheit and 104 degrees F. So it needs to be operating in those environmental temperatures. It can be mounted from the top or the bottom on a 1/4-20 mounting screw. And the reason that's important is because it's very, very important as where you mount this in relation to the camera. So that is important that it's going to be mounted in the correct place. So, you know, in some cases you're going to have to get creative, but there is a 1/4-20 mounting screw, 110 power, compact size, 4 by 4 by 7, and it weighs about 4 pounds. So this is a device we're going to talk about as we go forward. All right, let's talk about the Thermographic dual camera technology. It's a mouthful, but you know, what makes this different? Why is the dual camera technology important? Let's look at the technology in itself. A thermal camera. This is a screenshot of a thermal camera by itself. Does a great job. It measures temperature very accurately. In this particular image, I have multiple colors. I have things that, you know, is telling me the temperature of the entire room. The problem is I don't know who this guy is. If he was in a group or a cluster of people, I wouldn't really have anything that would call him out of a group compared to everybody else in the image. So that technology is great for someone just walking up to a camera, standing still, getting their temperature, and then another person coming up. Well, in this, I have a high resolution camera image, so it's great. I know who this is. I know the guy, but I don't know his temperature. So the two technologies married together are what give me the dual camera technology. What I need is I need his temperature, and I need to know this is Sebastian in this image. So with the two cameras built in, I have on the right side, I have my thermal image, which will give me my accurate temperature readings and give me a person that I can't recognize. On the other side, I have my high resolution image. So The nice thing about this camera, which makes it unique, is the fact that I can overlay these images and combine them. Now I have his temperature, I have the person of interest, and I can now document that Sebastian at this time had this temperature. We'll dive into the actual temperature measurements here in just a second, but this is what makes this camera unique. It's not just thermal. It's a combination of the dual cameras puts this together. Now I have the ability to log this into a database. I have the ability to document it over time. So we're going to dive into that. So let's go ahead and answer the question now. It may be in your mind, but let's go ahead and answer the question. Is this a medical device? And the answer is no. This is a big, long statement. This is a thermographic camera. It's intended for adjunct diagnostic as a part of a holistic system for screening. It's a mouthful. In regular terms, what this is a component that helps the screening process. It should not be dependent upon as the sole and only thing to measure temperature, but it will help you find the people, document the people. If you decide that they need thermal or further screening, they can be taken onto, more intense screening there. But we are not marketing this as a medical device, although it will be used for temperature screenings and in warehouses, places like that. A lot of uses for this camera, and it will do a great job, but it is not marketed as solely a medical device. On the system layout distances, the critical or triangle of success, as we refer to it as, is the first and foremost is your camera mounting height. So the height off the floor should be about 6.5 to 7.5 feet. So once that's pointed towards the the target, this is very critical that I'm 3 to 5 meters away or 10 to 16 feet away from the person that I'm going to be measuring. And then lastly is where the black body is mounted. That needs to be from 10 to 16 feet away from the camera at a height of 6.5 to 7.5 feet. And it has to be in the field of view of the thermal side of the camera. So the thermal has to be able to see that black body. That calibrates the temperature, make sure that there's always a reference point, and that's what gives us the degree of accuracy that we need to detect someone with an elevated fever or any temperature variances. So these 3 points are critical. So when you're thinking about this, if this is a technology you're looking at deploying, keep these distances in mind where you place this, and preferably in an indoor controlled environment where you have temperatures that don't vary or swing back and forth wildly. So from there, let's look at 3 of the most popular system layouts. First one is the image we just looked at. This would be a standalone web client operation. What that means is the camera would be mounted. I could either have a direct connection to the camera or on a network. I am going to access that camera through a web browser. I'm going to watch the subject come through, and I'm going to instantly be able to tell what the temperature is just by the box frame. I will not be collecting the information. I will just be doing a live monitor of a patron as they come in and out. So it would be just a real-time scan going on, not recording any information. That's using the web browser that's built into the camera. So basic, simple, the simplest form you could possibly use would be this setup right here. The second is a standalone using the CMS client. So the client software is a part of the camera package. So when you get the camera, you have the ability to load the CMS that we're going to test drive it here in just a second. But this is the software that will now record the snapshots of the faces and build a database for you. You can make it as sophisticated or as simple as you want. There is a lot of features. We're going to cover the high points, but this CMS will do a lot of things. In this scenario, we're going to do it in its simplest form. We're going to have it connected to the network or just running to the camera. We're going to be taking snapshots of the subject as they come through the area, and I can build a database, or I can go back and search by the screenshots and get a temperature history of employees, visitors, whoever I'm documenting. So this is the second. All the camera heights and everything we talked about in the first slide still hold true in all these scenarios. This is just a standalone with the CMS. And then the third most sophisticated, most complex is the network server with the CMS client. This would mean I would have a server that would be collecting the information. I would use my CMS remotely. I could log into the system and check the temperatures from multiple points. So this is just a more sophisticated version of the standalone utilizing a server. So server information would be stored here, and then we would record all of the logs. And that's where we could spend an entire day looking at the CMS and all of its features. We're going to hit the high ones here in just a second. So here we are. We're going to go into, this is the fun part of the presentation. This is where we're actually going to see it up close and in action. So as we talked about earlier, the CMS test drive, we're going to look at a couple main screens that I think will be useful in a temperature screening process. And we're going to actually see people walking in front. So the one thing we're going to look at is temperature screening. And what that means is this will actually document a person coming through. It will capture their faces, capture their temperature currently. Anyone that's outside of your preset temperature threshold will be documented here at the bottom in this snapshot. So we will see this. We'll see some examples of this. We're actually going to see some people walk in front. So that's one of that we're going to look at. And I'm also going to look at this temperature search screen, which is an active capture. As people come through the line or get their picture taken, they will get logged, whether they are a stranger, if you know who that person is. So for example, on the bottom here, I've got, let's see, Pat. He's second from the left. I have a reference frame for Pat. So I know when he walks through that this is Pat with 100% accuracy, and I know his temperature at what time. So I can build databases. I can build reports. I can watch people as they come through. If I don't know who they are, I'll just log them as a stranger, and it will give me their temperature. So I am going to get out of that screen, and we are going to go ahead and look at the CMS. So I'm going to have Matthew let me bring these screens over for my live view. So we have a setup in our office where we've got a hallway, and we are capturing. You will see a blue square here in the front. This is our capture zone from people that walk down this hallway. On the left is my video. On the right is my thermal image of that area. When I have a group of people, I'm going to have Matthew come through here anytime. Matthew, if you're on here, I'm going to have you go ahead and come down the hallway. All right, so I've captured Matthew. I can see his temperature at the top. We're going to have we should have a few more people when they walk through here. So we are capturing this one, Chris coming through. Matthew coming back to his office, you can see. So as people would come down this hallway, you're going to capture them. Now, it's great once you get the screen capture. You could see if Matthew's temperature was above I'm going to see if he's got a hot cup of coffee or something that he can put in front of his head to turn that. I'm not sure if he's got his coffee or not. Looks like he's going to get it. So he will walk through with a warm cup, and it will show his temperature elevate. Then while he's doing that, we're going to talk about the back end too and the reporting tools that you have available to you. Because once this data is collected, you may not be watching it real time. In some cases you might, but I am going to switch over and look at some of the reporting on the back end. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a tremendous amount of tools that can be deployed in the back. I don't want to miss Matthew coming through here. Oh, here we go. Coming down with the hot water now. So here comes Chris. He's walking through. He's got on his forehead. He's getting, so he is temping at, once he's in the zone now, he's temping at 150 degrees. So that would not, that's way out of the realm of any possible fever, but it would capture it would capture him as over temp, would put him into the red list, and we could call him out. Here comes Matthew coming down with the bottle of hot water. So there it is when it picks him up. So anybody walking through here, we recommend doing about a, social distancing still in place. If people are coming through here at 6 foot apart, be picking them off and doing their temperatures. So Matthew just put that on his forehead, or no. Yep, there he goes. It goes off there. So, all right. So I think everybody gets the idea. If there would be multiple people in this, it would catch them all. It would pull out just the ones that were over temp. So what I want to do now is go into the back end and show you some of the reporting. There are a lot of options back here. The main ones I want to talk about are the temperature monitor section. So let me do that one second. Let me do this one right now. I want to go to this and let's look at temperature search. So this in the last few minutes, let me research here. Let me go by device. I'm going to do my search. And these are some of the images that we just captured with Matthew walking by. So I can look at this screen. I've got 121 phase shots captured. You can see up here in the upper left-hand corner, this was Matthew coming through at 161 degrees Fahrenheit, hot water. But I have Matthew logged, so I know this is Matthew. I know his temperature, and I can see every time that Matthew has come through. Now, I just logged him earlier today, so that's why he didn't pick up on this one. But Matthew, who else do I have? Yeah, Matthew is who's screened. So I can look through here and look through my list of this database, and I can see the temperatures of people coming in. So if I had a whole bunch of employees and I needed to go through and look at them very quickly, I could do that through this report. So I can search time frames by camera. I can search the different types of over temp, low temp. So that's a good report. The temperature screening report. Let me pull this one over. I'm going to do the thermal and the regular. So this would, as people would walk through here, I would log the faces of the people as they come through, and then they would be put into this over temperature snapshot area here. It would line them up. So this database would capture, I'm not sure that I have this located or connected to my database on my own. I'm working this off of my own PC, so this is going to the master database. So it's not going to this one. That's why I'm not picking him up for that. Oh, sorry about that. We are. So it did log him as he came through, and it would put him off in the over temp snapshot. If he didn't have a temp, you would see it, just the people would continually build in this left-hand column.
Mike, go ahead and click on the thumbnail on the bottom. Hit the plus sign. Now you have a record that where you can.
Yes, I could do remarks here. Over temp, sent home. So confirm that, and now I've cleared him out. So Chris came through without a temperature, so he went through just fine, and I can watch the logs as people come through. So there are a lot of different database options in here, different ways of searching. There is a histogram, which I could take someone like Chris and I could plot every day what his temperature has been over the last, or the distance of, or amount of time that I've had him logged into our system. So I do have the ability to build upon this and keep a record for temperatures. So it's a very simple layout, just like a Google. We can open up tabs, close tabs, come in, do face matching. I can do the temperature, health checks, things like that are all built in here. And we could spend 2 hours just going through the different options here. And what we want to do is, we don't want to tie up everyone when we go through that, but we would welcome you to, if you have an application or you want to look at this further, we have this set up here. We can do a presentation like this, and we can go into it and really talk about the customized features and see if it will do anything that you're looking for it to do. I know we've had a lot of questions come across, and I want to make sure that we get to those. And I know we're over the 30-minute mark here. I apologize, but I would like to be able to look at and respond to some of the questions that have come through. Let me see here. Let me scan through. Give me just 1 second. There was something there, a great question about being able to send out remote questions. And I believe, Matthew, I believe I'm correct in saying that we can send push notifications out.
That is correct. The camera has both an SNMP setting as well as an FTP setting. That means you can use a mail server or an FTP server in order to receive live notifications. So you can set the criteria as far as sending every time that you see an over temperature alert, or sending every single capture, so you have a record in the database. And the email contains the time, the date, the temperature, the overlay on top of your picture, and the full body picture as captured by the camera.
Perfect. Another great question is about the thermal settings. Ours was black and white colored. There are, I think, at least a dozen different color configurations you can choose that will change it from just black and white to multiple colors. So it is not just set on a black and white on the thermal side. You can choose user defined what the color will be. Let's see, the notifications, Matthew, do the notifications that get sent out, do they include the thumbnail of the person? Do we know that if you, on the push notification, you may have just said that, but there was a question about when you do get a push notification from the system, would that include the person?
It includes the person picture, the overlay of the temperature, and if it is in the database, his name, alongside with the time that the event occurred. If he's not in the database, then it will call him just a stranger. It will still include the picture, there's the thumbnail, and the temperature.
All right, great. All right, yeah, we're getting a lot of questions here, guys, so you just bear with me here as I get through these. I'm just going to make sure that I've got several.
Another gentleman is asking, is it working with a baseball cap on? The answer is yes. And if you want me to demonstrate that, I can.
Okay, I can go back to live view, and I've got your live view now. There was a question why he's doing that. That was a Cohu hat, by the way, for anybody that wanted to know.
Yes.
Yep, gotcha. We gotcha. Okay. Just making sure.
Let me answer some of the questions real quickly, Mike, as I see them.
Okay. Perfect.
Is it available for 220 volts for Europe or Latin America? The answer is yes. It can be set both for 220, 110, and also have a metric system, which is Celsius, and meters versus Fahrenheit in feet, that is for the United States. Does the camera require a warm-up time? The camera does not require a warm-up time. The temperature reference box requires approximately 30 minutes to come up to temperature. After that, it remains as a constant reference device. Do you have any studies on providing accuracy of the camera? We do. We have an independent laboratory test that demonstrates that the camera has been tested to meet the 0.3 to 0.5 degrees accuracy. How wide is the field of view at 16 feet max? Is about 12 feet wide. Does the camera provide the CMS multi-user view? Yes, it does. You can have many clients connecting to the CMS server. Does the integration with technology partners as Milestone and Genetec? The answer is that the camera is ONBIF compliant, and it will provide an RTSP stream that can be recorded with a temperature overlay in the field of from such an NVR, such as Milestone or Genetec. But it does not have any integration with these platforms, but we provide the SDK for those that they want to have such integration happen. Does it have a face recognition feature? Yes, it does. That's how it can differentiate between employees and visitors when it actually does the scanning. The camera has two streams, one thermal and one video, or both? The answer is both. It has two independent configurable streams. Can temperature be set Fahrenheit or centigrade? I already answered that. Interested to see if we can send alert to card access system. The camera has a dry relay contact output, actually two of them, that can be set to send an alert to a card access system as a DIO. So you have a mechanical relay contact that it will close or open or pulse depending on the settings. Can you change the color or black and white? We saw that, no problem. Need thermal video analytics for the perimeter. Can I use this product for thermal perimeter alarms or thermal activity? Not this particular camera with this firmware. We have other thermal cameras that they can be set for perimeter on a large site. This is intended for a temperature screening using an AI algorithm to be able to capture the face and only the face and measure accurately the temperature. Is API available to send alarm to VMS? The answer is yes. How does it work with someone who wears a hat? We wore a baseball hat and we demonstrated that it does work. Pricing, consult with your local sales rep.